Welcome back, dear viewer. They say the devil is in the details, but occasionally he'll make a trip to Appalachia. In this video, we are going to look at 3 West Virginia tales of encounters with the devil himself. Before we get into these stories, we must first look into who the devil is. There are all manner of lesser imps and demons, but the great Satan himself is red and scaly. Hold on a second. I seem to be quoting the 2000 Coen Brothers film, O Brother, Where Art Thou? Just give me 1 second to find my script. Give me a second. Wait, oh, here it is. The devil is white. White, nope. I still seem to be quoting the 2000 Coen Brothers film, O Brother, Where Art Thou? This is embarrassing. I do not know why I keep both of these scripts on my desk. Here we go. Wow. Demons, devils, and evil spirits appear in folklore of practically all civilizations. But for the sake of this video, the devil is most easily described as the personification of evil and the adversary of God in the 3 major Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Across different accounts, the devil has taken hundreds, if not thousands, of different forms over the years. A fallen angel, a well-dressed tempter, a great horned demon, a dragon. But in this video, we are going to take a look at 2 stories of the devil as a much more animalistic being. The last is probably more of what you think when you think of the red-skinned, tailed, horned devil, more common in pop culture. But why cover this topic at all? Well, first of all, because I think these stories are neat, but also because if you're starting your journey into folklore or paranormal research, it's important to remember humans are infamously bad at describing things. When describing something wholly new, we have to pull from things that are super common, things that we deal with and see every day. When we're trying to describe something completely out of the norm, like a paranormal encounter, for example, this can be very, very tricky. Long before TV, comics, movies, Netflix, the entire Star Wars franchise gave us thousands of monsters to compare paranormal beings and entities to, probably a lot of monster sightings or just weird paranormal encounters were probably seen as encounters with the devil because individuals pulled aspects of religion into helping explain these supernatural encounters. All 3 of these tales were gathered by West Virginia folklorist Ruth Ann Musick. 2 are from the spring 1974 Volume 1, Number 4 of Appalachian Journal, and 1 is from the West Virginia Ghost Story Collection, Telltale Lilac Bush. Our first story comes from Mill Creek in Randolph County, a small community just south of Elkins. A man described as the storyteller's great-grandfather was riding his horse home one night from a local rural store. Suddenly, something fell out of a tree onto his horse. He felt claws sinking into his back and breathing on his neck. At first he thought a bear must have fallen onto his horse with him. He tried shaking whatever it was off and tried riding faster to try and knock it off the horse, but to no luck. Scared half to death, he finally turned around to try and get a look at what it was. As he turned, he found himself face to face with something monstrous. The only details he could make out was that the creature was covered in fur, had almost no nose, but had very bright red glowing eyes. Oh, and it had giant horns. Yeah, it had giant horns and glowing red eyes. It was at this point he realized he was face to face with the devil himself. He kept riding towards his home because why wouldn't you take the devil home and introduce him to the whole family if you had an encounter with him? But before he could get to his house, he realized that the being had seemingly disappeared into thin air. When he got home, he burst through the door. His shirt was ripped up and bloodied, and his wife was super concerned about what had happened to him. He explained everything that happened on his trip home, and then he died. Well, not immediately right then and there. It was like 3 weeks later after he had spent the whole day working out in the sun on a particularly hot day. He just fell over, but everyone knew what happened to him. They all knew. Now, our next encounter is from the Lost Creek area of West Virginia, a small community just south of Quietdale, about 30 miles from French Creek, West Virginia. Remember that detail. In this area lived a man named Webb, who had a reputation for being the town drunk. One night, after several rounds of his homemade Applejack, he filled his coffee pot with his booze of choice, an entire coffee pot, and proclaimed he was heading out to fight the devil himself. It was in the middle of the winter, and that night was particularly cold. Webb never returned home that night. In the morning, his family was concerned and started looking for him. Soon they found him not far from the house, leaning up against a tree. His chest had been just ripped to shreds. Webb had gone to fight the devil himself, and it would appear that he had found him, or something. Now, these last two stories both come from pretty near the area that is known for the tale of the White Wolf of French Creek and the Blue Devil. This area, it seemed for a while, was infamous for animal attacks, and maybe both of these stories, along with the others, all kind of formed their own subset of folklore as a way of warning people against traveling alone on some of these back roads, especially before the invention of automobiles, because animal attacks were so prevalent during this time period. Our last story takes place in Kaiser, West Virginia, and a weird encounter at the White Raven Inn. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this one is much more of what you might think of when you think of an encounter with the devil. The inn was your typical roadside dive bar, lots of drink, music, dancing, and all manner of other debauchery. As the night went on and the drinks flowed, the crowd would get rowdier and rowdier until at one point the door flew wide open. A new guest had entered the bar. The devil himself walked in and started dancing around the room and sending sparks flying as he bounced off of the walls. Finally, after enjoying his time dancing and partying for a while, he seemingly disappeared into the floor. There are reports that many who were there that night turned to lives of religious piousness in response to their encounter with this dancing devil. So these are three tales of the devil from the hills of West Virginia, and whether you believe them or not, just remember that evil is very, very real. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and I hope to talk to you again very soon.